my favorite part. Oh, when Tiny Tim is sitting at the table and he says, God bless us, everyone. And the most sad little weak voice, and his little body's all shriveled up, and he's just so weak, and his father looks so sad, and Scrooge says, tell me if Tiny Tim will live, and the ghost says, I see an empty chair and a crutch with that owner. Oh, this is always the saddest part. Oh, it just makes me cry every time. Oh, this is my favorite movie. I just love this movie so much. I'm so glad that we're watching these together.
Yeah, me too. Because I love Christmas.
Oh, I know you do.
Spending time with buying presents and
and visiting with people. Well,
that's right.
Actually, we don't go visit with people. We mostly visit the stores and the
credit card bills.
And the credit card bills. Yeah, but what we're giving.
Oh, it's a meaningful time. It is a meaningful time.
And the lights. Christmas is so wonderful because of the lights.
Hot chocolate.
And the hot chocolate and the
ho ho ho.
And the children are all out there and they're all singing Christmas carols.
They're freezing to death.
And the stockings are hung up and the trees and lights.
What about our friends that think we're in the Bahamas?
That was the smartest thing we've ever done.
That's right.
We convinced everybody that we were going to the Bahamas for Christmas.
I think Eric and Susan bought it.
I think they did too. Yeah. That way nobody bothers us because we wanted to just sit here and veg for the 2 weeks during Christmas.
That's right.
And we're doing a binge of Christmas movies and enjoying it so much, aren't we?
Yes, so much.
Oh,
so much.
Yes. In fact, they do it twice.
They said they went to the Alps.
Yeah. Have fun, guys.
I didn't think that Pomeroy had an Alp.
I didn't know they had an Alp. Well, they do live on a hillside. That kind of works.
It is a mountain up there.
It is a bit of a mountain there, but yeah, we just told everybody that we'd gone to the Bahamas for Christmas, and
we don't even like the Bahamas.
We've drawn all the shades and locked all the doors, and we're just here enjoying our popcorn and our hot chocolate.
That's right.
And our movies.
Well, I'm going to pause the movie now.
Why?
Well, how are we going to talk to our friends if we're sitting here boo-hooing about Tiny Tim? And
now, don't make fun of me. These are touching movies.
Oh,
just
yeah,
because
I know
you
they're
don't
touching
cry.
movies.
They are wonderful movies.
They touch me. I go to sleep to them about every night.
They just touch your soul.
Is that your Christmas tradition?
That's my Christmas tradition, is sit and watch all the movies with popcorn and hot chocolate and just cry my way through each
I sure am glad it's not last year.
Yeah. we would be in a mess without the toilet paper. Yeah.
So what kind of Christmas tradition do you have?
Well, we're supposed to talk about Christmas traditions. And since Eric already talked about Advent. And,
he did that one real well.
Christmas on the 25th.
Yeah, he did that, for quite a while.
And then Susan decided to talk about the Christmas tree.
Right.
So
They didn't leave a whole lot.
They didn't leave a whole lot.
No.
So we had to think about what traditions we remember. And it was really hard for Frank because his family doesn't have a lot of traditions.
We did Christmas stuff, but
you didn't hang up your stockings.
Well, no, we didn't hang up stuff. We didn't have any extras.
No, well, you didn't listen to the radio. You didn't go out Christmas caroling.
Oh yeah, we went Christmas caroling. And we did like I talked about in the Christmas Carol mailbag that we did the Christmas program at church
that you hated.
And I didn't. That wasn't my favorite thing.
Hated them all.
Being the shepherd, but there was one tradition that just brought to mind for me, and that was mistletoe.
Oh, your favorite thing? Yes.
Yeah, mistletoe. You hang the mistletoe in a strategic place and hope that it pays off. And I was thinking about the mistletoe because in about 8th grade or so, I'd take the 22 and I'd go down to a particular place where there were some trees that were just loaded with mistletoe, and it didn't take a couple of shots and I'd have just a huge bunch of mistletoe.
Why did you shoot mistletoe out of the tree? What was it doing in the tree?
Well, that's where it grows.
Oh, it does.
It does grow. It does.
You mean
grow
like
in
there's
trees.
a mistletoe tree?
Oh no, a walnut tree, oak tree. Oak trees are one of the favorites.
So it just grows in the other trees.
Well, and let me finish my anecdote. I was in the middle of an anecdote, and you interrupted me there, but because this 8th grade boy was out shooting mistletoe with some mischievous plan in mind, because there were always some cute girls at church, and so
And you had high hopes.
Well, I did have high hopes, but I didn't have a lot of resolve.
A lot of guts.
Guts. I could run pretty fast, but so all my planning about mistletoe never really worked out. But let me tell you what some of the things I found out about mistletoe here just recently. Mistletoe comes from an old Anglo-Saxon word, a couple of Anglo-Saxon words. Missile is Anglo-Saxon word for dung, dung, D-U-N-G, and tan, the end of the word, is a word for twig. So the name of this plant that we're hanging up above, in a doorway or wherever, is dung on a twig or poop stick.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And that's what we're kissing under?
That's what we're
poop on a stick?
That's what we're kissing under.
Oh.
Now this is mistletoe has been used for a long time. A long time. It started out there's ancient Norse myths about mistletoe. It's used in various pagan worship and such. It really doesn't have a Christian basis to it. It's been adopted into Christmas, but one of the old legends is the Norse myth about Baldur, the son of Odin and Frigga, who when he was born, his mother Frigga went to all the plants, all the animals, all the inanimate objects, and made them promise not to harm her son.
But she forgot the mistletoe.
But she forgot the mistletoe.
It was a parasite, so
it's a parasite. It grows in the trees. It's transported from one place to another by birds eating the berries, and then is this sad?
I'm just clearing up. I'm getting ready for the next.
by then depositing the seeds in other trees so that they keep growing. Part of the mythology about mistletoe is it's up in the trees, so they think the gods have sent it, and it's halfway between the sky and the earth and all that. And anyway, with Baldur, the mischievous god Loki, he convinces somebody to make a spear out of mistletoe that is shot and kills Baldur, and this just turns bad. But we see that coming through Norse mythology, particularly here in the 18th and 19th centuries, is where we see more of our modern customs about mistletoe. The late 18th and 19th centuries, there were rules to follow. Older men, good gentlemen, would guide their wives or older ladies beneath the mistletoe and kiss them on the cheek. Younger men, however, they were allowed to kiss the young woman on the lips, and the white berries that are on the mistletoe, they could kiss once for each berry, and every time they got a kiss, they would take one of the berries off, and once the berries were gone, the kissing would stop, supposedly. Yeah, I never got that far, so I don't know anything about it. In the early 20th century, it seems that some of these things had gotten out of hand, and some of the newspapers from early 1900 were talking about that husbands and brothers were incensed over promiscuous kissing, which took place at the Christmas dance, and so they would try to diminish this, and even sermons would be included in sermons that this was not something.
That's what you would have been preaching.
That's what I would have been preaching, I'm sure. But I found something out of a Kalamazoo newspaper.
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Kalamazoo, Michigan, in the early 1900s, and this story was published in the Kalamazoo Gazette, And it's a story of one man who got cold feet about mistletoe. Mr. Whipple brought a piece of mistletoe to the office, and he suspended it under a gas light close to his desk. Well, there was a pretty miss that entered the office a few minutes later, and she stood directly under the mistletoe. Everyone in the office was watching, and they watched Mr. Whipple, and he coughed slightly to attract the attention of the young woman, and she looked at him. He straightens his tie and he adjusts his collar, and he says, "Look, what's over you?" And she didn't budge. And then he didn't budge, and he seems to be losing his nerve. And the young lady says, "It ain't far from where you are." And Mr. Whipple turns red, and he stopped and started to retreat. And his fellow clerks in the office there, they started to call out to him, but as quick as he could, he hurried off behind the counter to prevent the
chicken.
Yeah, he was.
What a waste!
He definitely was. Said after the young lady left, Mr. Whipple peeped into the room to see if the way was clear, and then he hastily detached the mistletoe from the light. He didn't want to get caught in that situation twice. We don't know what the young lady's name was, but poor Mr. Whipple
never got married.
Probably not. Well, one of the customs was that if the young lady refused to be kissed under the mistletoe, she would not be married that year.
Oh.
So there was a lot of things going on with that. The kissing under the mistletoe starts in England in the 18th century, and by the time of Queen Victoria in the 19th century, it's firmly established in both England and the United States. But by the time the 1940s come along, it's starting to dwindle quite a bit. And of course, my anecdote of this little 8th grade boy is in the late 60s, and so it wasn't long after that we see that start to dwindle. But I don't begrudge any of those young ladies that they didn't want us to kiss under the poop stick.
No, that just kind of changes your whole attitude toward it, doesn't it? When you know that you're kissing under the poop stick. Yeah. No.
I think dung twig sounds better.
Dung on a twig.
Dung on a twig. Yeah, that's
like
a little
chicken
classier.
On a stick.
Well, what about you? What about your Christmas traditions besides crying at movies?
Well, one of the things I guess that I love the most about Christmas is the reason behind Christmas, what we celebrate and what the purpose of the day. And the thing that reminds me the most of that as I'm driving around town is the nativity scenes that I see in front of the churches or sometimes in front of the homes, the big plastic Mary and Joseph and the baby, or you go inside churches or you go inside homes sometimes and there will be nativities. We have about 5. We have 5 nativity scenes here. That's not a lot, but they're from different areas of the country.
Nothing like Tim and Kathleen and their 900.
No, we're not anywhere near them. But I love looking at the different nativity scenes, and I was curious as to whether or not that was something that we had brought forward into the 20th and 21st century, or if it actually had started further back than that. Teaching as I've done of the humanities, I've seen it in artwork back in the 1200s, but I didn't know if it was there already or if it had just come in a little earlier. So I went looking about nativity scenes, and the nativity scene I thought was interesting because the names that are also called, it's also called a crib, which of course we think of that as a baby bed, is a crib, but a nativity scene is also called a crib or a creche.
Creche, yeah.
Which I've heard quite a bit. I've heard creche. Type of thing. It's any depiction of the birth or the birthplace of Jesus Christ. It comes from Latin, like about everything else does. And the Latin word nasci is where it comes from, and that word means to be born. So it developed into nativitas, which means birth or place of birth, and it actually came into English in the 14th century. the first time that we find nativity in the written word is around 1150, which is a really long, I was surprised it was that far back. But the thing that I was the most surprised about is that the first live nativity scene, I'm sure that you've driven past churches that are doing live nativity scenes, and the people of the church will come and play the different parts, and sometimes they'll bring animals in, and they'll be out there shivering in the cold, you know, with their costumes on, and usually have a baby doll lying in the manger. The first nativity scene, live nativity scene with actors and animals like that, was actually done in 1223 in Italy. And Francis of Assisi is the first one that did that. He did that because he thought that there was too much commercialism going on in Christmas, and he wanted to remind people what Christmas was really all about. That was a lot earlier than what I thought, especially a live nativity scene. They said he brought in all kinds of animals, sheep and oxen and donkeys, and to make it, and had actors, and that became a custom in Italy that is still going on today. He did it in a cave outside the city so that people could come out and see the nativity scene as it was. But nativity scenes themselves, or the theme of a nativity in art, in Christian art, actually started even earlier than that. You're talking about like in the 300s or 330s after the birth of Christ. Very, very early that you see references made to the nativity, or you begin to see it crop up in artistry. And you see it in 431 is being brought out again. But at the beginning, you have a kind of a certain look to it. Mary, the Virgin, is sitting up. She's not lying down or reclining at all. She's sitting up. The baby is generally wrapped in clothes, swaddling cloths, and lying in a manger. Joseph is usually standing up or outside, and there was always an ox and a donkey in the picture. A lot of times the shepherds were over to one side. There would be an angel, and the magi, the wise men, usually were tagged in there. But by the time you get to the 6th century, another version of the nativity has come along. We're not sitting the Virgin up anymore. She's just had a baby. We've laid her back down on a bed. And the baby is still in swaddling clothes in a manger. And the ox and the donkey are still there. Joseph is still there. But everybody else they got rid of. No more magi, no more shepherds, none of that. Then it changes again a couple centuries later. And we bring the ox and the ass back in. We bring the shepherds come back in. Mary is now sitting up again. And it went through, and now we've added 2 midwives who are in the front, and rather than the baby laying just in a manger, they are bathing him in some kind of a bath or carved bath of some kind. And that was supposed to have something to do with him going to the church or going to the synagogue on his 8th day. So that goes on for a little bit of time. But by the time we get to the 16th century, we've changed it all over again. Or the 14th century. They can't make up their mind. They decide that they change the focus of the whole thing to adoration. We put the baby is no longer wrapped in swaddling cloths. He's laying on straw or a bed, sometimes in the manger, but more often just on a bed of straw on the ground, and he's nude. He's naked. Mary is no longer laying down or sitting down. She's on her knees with her hands folded next to the baby in adoration. His father Joseph is on his knees on the other side doing the same thing. We take the shepherds and the magi back out again, but in the 16th century we're going to put them back in, or at least the shepherds back in, and they are going to be down on their knees adoring the baby too. It becomes more of a worship than just a scene of a nativity, of the birth. for that. So you see it change. I was surprised as it went along, and I was thinking to myself, I've seen all these different versions of myself and really not thought much about it. However, by the time we get to the late 16th century, the Council of Trent says, no, this is not theologically correct. They bring the midwives out. There's no more bathing of the baby. He's going to be in swaddling cloths. He's going back in his manger again. His mother and Joseph are still down adoring. They also pull out the ox and the donkey. They pull that out. It's going to be put back in the 18th century because they've come to represent the Jews and the Gentiles. Those two animals do. And they want them there to show the beast of burden and to show the steadfastness of the ox. So it morphs as it rolls along into what we see today. And I guess it just depends on where you are and what copy of the Nativity that you get to see.
Are all these things reflected in different paintings?
They are, and in different carvings. You see them all through the medieval period and the early, like I said, the 12th, 13th century. And it continues to change as it comes up in through the 19th century and the 20th century. You see it morph back and forth like that. So it's kind of interesting on what they've put in and taken out. Mary always stays. The baby always stays. Joseph always stays. They just change positions. Everything else, though, gets taken in and taken out, and taken in and taken out. So I thought that will make me, it makes me look at the nativity scenes that I see now very differently.
You got something that's, I mean, I'm talking about poop on a stick, and you're talking about
something holy. I know. I can't believe that you went to poop on a stick. When I mean, you could have done something holy, but oh well, that's fine. That's. I want to get back to the movie. I mean, we've stopped right at my favorite part. Can we not go back and pick it up, ladies and gentlemen? I don't mean to be rude, but this is our vacation, and I really want to see the rest of these movies, and I don't want to run out of time because they're all my favorites.
Yeah, because after Saturday, we can't watch any of them anymore.
Oh, yes, we are. You still have the 12 Days of Christmas, and we're going to watch them all the way to January 6th.
Oh, my. All right, here we go. Hey, while that's starting back up, can we do this one next?
The Grinch?
Yeah, The Grinch. It's my favorite.
That one's not... I wanted to do this one, Miracle on 34th Street, because it's so sweet. And when they have to take Santa Claus to... All right, my eyes need a rest. We'll watch The Grinch next.
All right.
And I'll take a nap. Well, Merry Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching, learning a little about traditions, and I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas and a blessed New Year.
Merry Christmas.